Okay, so we got data, the concept of data, the concept of exchanging ideas and thoughts on the internet, the concept of receiving currency and receiving information on the internet, the concept of being able to influence someone across the planet in a matter of minutes. What is this? Sex. This is what this is, sex. And this is what I'm speaking about. This is sex on a higher level. But what we're going to do now is that since we fuse together the concept that we know now that everything that we experience internally is happening and can be experienced externally. Meaning that you can, of course, experience sex on an internal level, meaning, you're a male and you use your phallus to enter into the vagina, or you're a female and you allow the phallus to enter into your vagina. You can experience that on an internal level, or you can, on a physical level, enter into different realms that represent the vagina and get a similar orgasmic experience from being in these different areas. So what happens is that the internet, what these beings did, see, they knew this. And these beings, which were predominantly Pleadians, is what we're going to get into now. As we merge into the number 7, we're still dealing with the number 6. Pleiadians essentially took the concept of what you experience on the internal, which was actually engineered by other extraterrestrials, thousands and millions of years ago, different types of experiments. But these Pleiadians, they came and updated all of this. And this is what we have today. So now we have a situation where we're dealing with electrical energy, or electric energy, essentially externally and internally being, I guess you can say, being relayed by the human body. And this is where you get the grid from. So then now you have a scenario where you have television, for instance. And when you deal with the concept of television, this is essentially a merging together, or a working together of the sacred yoni, or the vagina. This is what the television is. And the television is essentially a feminine or a yin-based tool. And what happened with the television is that since it wasn't understood that this was a form or a tool that was used to give credit and to exchange ideas online, the television turned into the beast, or what you would call the third eye, or the mark of the beast. In the Bible, they call it the mark of the beast, or the television. So what's going to happen now is that we're going to have to, those people that's trying to live off the grid and really come at this thing from a natural perspective, come at this life program from a natural perspective, yet still from a technological perspective, meaning that we want to keep everything in place as far as the grid and the internet and how everything is set up. It's just that we want to establish a form of a sovereignty and working with the internet versus a form of what you would consider being a corporate fiction, or what you would be considered being fiat. So you want to move out of the fiat or the corporate aspect, which is what they turned us into, and move into more of a sovereignty aspect. So we have to now overstand the television. That's right, you got to overstand the television, because eventually you're going to have to, once you move into higher numbers, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to essentially turn your Bells on East chamber into a form of a television station or a broadcasting station, and begin to communicate with certain satellites and use this to generate currency for yourself. Because the goal is for a spiritual master, as I've been pointing out, and why I'm putting out this information, and I'll shut down, because we're going to go into the television and the grid eventually as we get into the number 7, and how this relates to energy on the spiritual level, and how this is the fulfillment of several prophecies that were put in different tablets, like the Enumi leash, and different tablets in the Vedas, the Hindu text called the Vedas. See, these tablets were different, are actually loaded onto the internet, is what I'm getting at. And until this is decoded, we're going to be poor. So we have to unlock more currency for ourselves so that we can produce a better reality for ourselves. We're supposed to be walking on gold roads so that we can live longer. See, this is the type of stuff, the ideas that I'm sharing, that's eventually going to happen. It's going to happen, but it's going to take time. So we're supposed to be walking on gold roads and stuff like that. So we need to understand certain components and how to unlock the spell and break the spell, and then again eventually secure and lock down a new energy that we control, which first you have to take control of the human body and the sexual experience and the human experience, and then from there you take control of your working experience, what you do as far as going out. So these beings essentially brought in and introduced the television because they knew at some point, to these Pleiadians when they came, their goal was to trap the human being, these Pleiadians that designed this. Now all of them were evil, but some of them, there were an evil band and a good band. Two bands came, and their goal was to entrap human beings or to enslave human beings with their own information, because human beings, they knew human beings had lost the knowledge of themselves, and they needed this sacred energy on this planet that really only the vagina produces. And what the phallus does is that it stirs up the energy that the vagina already has so that this energy can spread and begin to circulate through different beings. So they knew this, so they created the television as a form of sex to block the third eye, and then eventually they introduced what's really called porno onto the television, and what you would call X-rated information. Not that it's negative, but it's that when it's given on a certain level, when it's issued, I'll say issued, that's a good word. When it's issued to you on a certain level, it can block your third eye. You have to learn how to receive these images when your body is ready to adjust or calibrate to certain numbers or combination codes, meaning that you have to do certain numeric rituals before you can begin to watch certain images on television. This shit is deep that I'm going to get into. So we're going to talk about how the Belzoni's chamber eventually is going to have to turn into a broadcasting station so that you could begin to reverse the spell or the effect that was put on you from components in your human body, mostly of a sexual nature, of the phallus and the yoni and the vagina or the penis, those two components, and learn how to reverse this spell by becoming what you call born again, or so-called born again virgin. And you can experience this if you have a partner still having sex, if you have your twin flame and the correct partner. So you don't have to cut your partner up, but you have to become a born again virgin, either yourself or with your partner, two people, or if you're in a scenario where you're in a threesome or a scenario like that, you can become a born again virgin, but there's a certain way you have to do it. When they talked about the pharaohs going through the Adab chambers blindfolded, see, it's the mastering the eyes and the images that they put into our head through the eyes and learning how to reverse that. So stay vigilant. I'm going to come back up with more information pertaining to this. And as always, you may want to watch this a couple of times to really understand it. And then watch a couple of my other videos to marry together. But as always, stay progressive. Keep it moving. Come back at you soon. Namaste.